Okay, so when it comes to choosing a career, there seems to be two sort of camps of thought about what criteria you should use in terms of deciding which job is right for you. The first one is, on one side, something that just makes a lot of money, right? It's not particularly enjoyable, but life's extremely tough, and you know, money makes things a lot easier. And it's nice to have lots of money, so just focus on that. But on the other hand, you got don't worry too much about money, but focus on doing something meaningful, something you enjoy, something that's interesting, this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, obviously this is kind of continuum. Obviously it's best to have both. And, most people are obviously somewhere along this continuum. But in principle, I think it's quite black and white in terms of it's quite obvious which people generally choose. People will generally pick one or the other. And so I think it's of real importance to us to figure out which one is right. Which camp do you go for here? And I've had a lot of changing opinions about which camp to go for. For a long while, I was very do something that's fun, do something that's enjoyable, focused. I thought that was the only way to go, really. I've always been quite creative, and I wanted to be a musician for a very long time. And, for a lot of my life, I was writing music, going to open mics, and that was all really great. But after a while, I started to look at myself and think, is this really such a fantastic thing to do? I made a lot of good friends in music and stuff like that, but going to a lot of these open mics and stuff like that, I also met a lot of people who just had a kind of loser energy about them. And I started to realise that because I was doing the same thing as them, I was going to all these open mics, in a sense doing the fun, purposeful thing that's really exciting, whatever. But in another sense, it's just I just felt like a bit of a loser, to be honest. And it got to a point where I was just I've had enough of this, It's all very well doing something that's meaningful and fun, but I'm not actually producing anything useful to society. So I decided to change my efforts into getting into something that earns a lot of money, basically. And I was at university at the time. I went into third year, and I started thinking about, basically just getting into a career that was gonna pay really well. And I thought about being a lawyer for a bit. Then I got more interested in, sort of all this, the modern world of entrepreneurship, and I thought about getting into sales and all this other stuff. And yeah, I've got to a point now where I've slightly changed my opinion with this again. I'm gonna sort of explain why. So, on the face of it, I do think there's a good case for just focusing on money. The proof's in the pudding. By their fruits you shall know them, right? If you look at people who are very focused on earning money, and when I meet people who are working in the city or whatever, they have a good energy about them. They're quite fun to be around. They stand up with their straight. There's a certain pride that people who are working hard in the city for a lot of money are taking themselves. They're very. It's a nice energy to be around. And you hang around with people who are more focused on doing something that's fun, on doing something that's meaningful, and they don't have that. They are often less interesting. They have less kind of energy about them. They take up less space in the room, right? And that's very significant. And so on the face of it, that's made me think, just doing something that's gonna earn you a lot of money is the best thing. One, because it's gonna, it's just nice to have lots of money, but two, better characters seem to just focus on making money. and it's good to be around that kind of energy. You know, I want to be that kind of character. And, you know, all these people who are doing meaningful jobs, you know, like trying to make the music thing work, or the, I don't know, like going back to my example with music, when I met a lot of people who were trying to make music work, like they'd have a part-time job, maybe they were a teacher, or they worked in a pub, or they were still at university or something like that, but they did music on the side, and then they wanted to be a musician full-time. Yeah, like they had this kind of, like I say, this kind of loser energy, this kind of, they didn't take very much space in the room, you know. And similarly, like I remember when I worked in sales and we were doing charity work, and I met people who were who worked for the charity that that I was fundraising for. And again, like you think like charity work, very meaningful, right? I'm sure if you ask that person why they got into charity work, they'd say, oh, because I wanted to do something meaningful, I wanted to make a difference. I didn't want to just plug myself into the 9 to 5 and sort of, yeah, just earn lots of money. I wanted to do something really make a difference. That's the kind of thing they'd say. And yet, interacting with them when I did, you wouldn't have thought they felt that they were making a difference. You know, they didn't really have much energy about them. You didn't feel like they were really working on something that was very important to them. And same with all these kind of fun jobs. The people just have a worse kind of energy. They're less exciting to be around. And yeah, so anyway, that's really what makes me think that, yeah, working like a big job that earns lots of money is a lot better. It's a lot better to just focus on money and don't worry too much about purpose. Don't worry too much about fun, you know, all this other stuff. However, what I've realised is that there's a bit of a sort of glitch in this comparison, because I think the people who say that they're doing something that they find purposeful or they find fun or fulfilling very often aren't actually doing something that's fun or fulfilling. They generally like I say, this guy who sort of came into sales and did a speech, our sales company, and did a speech about the charity we were working for and stuff like that. Like I say, he didn't seem to feel like he was making much of a difference. And I think a lot of the time when people think they're doing something meaningful, they decided to choose a career that's meaningful rather than earning lots of money, normally they're not actually thinking about doing something that they find truly meaningful. It's a bit more complicated than that. Going back to my example of music, you know, a lot of people, like I still follow a lot of people a lot of musicians when I was going around open mics in Manchester. I still see them on Instagram, you know, and stuff like that. And a lot of the time, I can just tell that they've given up, kind of. Like they're not actually, like, they're going through the motions, they're doing the gigs, oh, they've recorded a new single, great, you know, all this stuff. But I can tell inside they're kind of given up. They don't really give a shit about it anymore. They aren't seriously thinking about how they could make headway, you know. That's a big difference. To go back to the example of like working for a charity or a sort of non-profit organisation or something like that. Again, I think a lot of people who work in charities, and like this is, you know, this is going to sound very controversial, but I feel like often, not always, but often, it just comes from a place of like, I don't know, some kind of guilt, and a feeling that they have to do something that's altruistic to earn money, otherwise they're a bad person. And if you go into a charity with that kind of attitude, with that kind of energy, you're never going to feel like what you're doing is important. You're never going to have purposeful life. And at that point, you might as well just do a normal job that earns you lots of money. yeah, it's a controversial thing to say, I know. And I do think there are exceptions to this. You know, I was looking into a non-profit organisation literally yesterday that looks like, and this was something that like, I was like thinking about working for in the future, and I saw it and I was like, that gave me like a real spark. I thought, yeah, I could really get behind this movement. I think it's really important. But I think often people are like, you know, so if you're getting into a non-profit or a charity or something like that, and you have like a really like, you feel it in your stomach, kind of electricity buzzing through you when you think about the cause, and you really see how you can fit into this sort of thing, then that's different. But I feel like a lot of the time people decide to work for a non-profit or a charity, it's just kind of, okay, I want to do something altruistic. What jobs are there? Okay, this one, there we go. You know, and it's like it's like there's no passion behind it. And this is really the point I'm trying to drive forward is there's very few people who really do something that they're passionate about. And usually people who are doing fun jobs or jobs that are meaningful or whatever, they're just doing it because, for another reason. You know, maybe in the example of the music, it's because they feel like they're too scared. They're too scared to like shed that identity. You know, they're too scared to recognise that they have fallen out of love with music. They haven't kept that spark alive. You know, or you know, working for a charity or a political organisation or something like that. They, again, like, they don't really get, when you really get down to it, they're not obsessed with the cause. They don't go to bed at night thinking about it. And yeah, that sucks. So this really changes how we look at things. Because I think, just to come down on it, I think the most important thing is purpose, really. And I think you should find work that's really aligned to your purpose and what you feel is important to you, what difference you think you can make in the world. But very few people actually have the balls to live a life that's like really aligns to their purpose. Now, a lot of people are able to make it look like they're doing something meaningful and maybe lie to themselves that what they're doing is meaningful, but when you really look in on it, they're not actually doing something that's they feel is wildly important. And so anyway, to get back to my original point, I think this is why so many people look at, like, so many people recommend just to secure the bag instead of working on just making a lot of money, because rather than working on something purposeful. Because the examples that are held up to us of people who are genuinely, who are like an example of being purposeful, doing something purposeful, they're not actually really living on their edge, as Data put it. You know, they're not really doing something that is purposeful to them. They're just doing something that looks purposeful. And so I think the thing to do really is to find something that genuinely is purposeful to you, and really scrutinise that. Because if you find that, I just think you live a life that's so much better than if you're just chasing money. Now, granted, I think a life that's chasing money is probably better than a life where you're just not doing anything. You're doing something kind of pretend purposeful. But I think if you really find some cause that you're really invested in and you really see how you fit into it, and you're prepared to suffer and like work hard, work yourself to the bone to achieve that, get up at 5 a.m. every morning, have all your goals for that thing on your wall, you know, you have an idea of where you're going with it, you see how you fit into this course. I think that's a really important thing. You see how you fit in with it. Then I think you should do it. And like, I'm only 23, like I've still got a lot of my life to live. So I, you know, don't take my word as gospel. And like, if any older guys are watching it, which they're probably not, but if you are, like, yeah, if you think I'm wrong, call me out in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it, because I'm only one person, but I just think if you really find something that makes you go, yeah, I'm willing to work like a slave, like a dog, to get this done, because I want it so bad, then you then you should do that. And that could be money. That could just be money. You could think like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna work really hard in a bank, make, you know, lots of money, and then, I don't know, invest it in something and, you know, become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. Fine, you know. But I just think if you have some other really strong thing that you just really feel like the world is ignoring, and you see how you fit into it, and you have like a set list of goals as to how you're going to accomplish it, then you should go for it, you know, in my view. But yeah, anyway, if people think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. We can have a discussion about it, because I think when you really put 100% into something, then like anything can happen, basically. Like, I do believe that. I think most of our lives, the reason why things don't happen the way we want it is because in some sense, like, and it's a terrible thing to realise, but in some sense, we're just okay with it not being okay. So yeah, anyway, I think basically the answer is you should focus on purpose, but it has to be genuine. It has to be really genuine, the purpose, and it has to come from something quite deep within you, and you basically, it's got to make you want to work all day, every day. And if you don't have a calling like that, don't, like, find that first. You know, don't put the cart before the horse. You know, don't get a job in academia or in sort of a charity or in something creative because you think it might give you purpose. You know, you want to know, and yeah, that's the really key thing. So in terms of steps how to do this, I would say if you have something that you feel is aligned to your purpose, set some goals, you know, like going back to the example of the music. I think the mistake I made with the music is I didn't really have any goals with it. I think it's the exact same thing with everyone that I was hanging out with at these open mics. They just didn't really have any goals with it. They were just kind of complacent doing these open mics and kind of, oh, maybe one day it will catch on, you know, maybe it won't. But the trouble is, nothing ever happens with that energy. And I think, in a sense, like, by all means, I should have stayed in music if I had a genuine vision for where I was going to go. You know, if I walked into a gig or an open mic, or I recorded a song, and I thought, this time next year, I'm going to have a record deal, or this time next year, I'm going to play at a gig that 100 people are going to go to. You know, if I started having like more clear defined goals, I would have just smashed it. And that's the thing that I think I had to recognise. Ultimately, I just didn't really care about it anymore. I didn't really have any goals in terms of like what I was achieving. I was just kind of doing it because I thought I was going to let my younger self down if I didn't keep it up. But yeah, I was just doing all these gigs. I did like some big gigs, and you know, but I just felt like, am I really enjoying this anymore? Is this really meaningful and exciting? And that was something that I had to face up to. And you know, there's a lot of stuff I still need to look into there about what role I want music to play in my life and stuff like that. But fundamentally, I thought, I don't really give a shit about this anymore, so let's stop doing it, you know. Now at the moment, I've got a lot of creative projects that are on YouTube. So I've got this YouTube channel, I've got a vlogging channel as well where I make travel vlog content. And this is in a sense just the same thing as the music. Like, I'm a creative person, it's kind of a bit wishy-washy, a bit passionate, whatever. But I have very clear defined goals about what I want to achieve. You know, like, I've got a bunch of videos literally on my wall that I'm gonna make on this travel vlog channel, and I've got a certain amount of followers that I want by reaching a certain point in the vlogs, you know. Same with this channel, you know, I have a certain amount of followers that I want by the end of next month, and I'm gonna try and hit it. Now, you know, so I think goals is really important. The crucial thing is you don't have to hit it. You don't have to feel constrained by the goal. You know, I mean, I've got all these things that I'm going to make with this travel vlog video, But if I get a better idea of like another vlog to make, I can always just scrap that and choose a new goal. You know, you can move the goalposts as you go, but I think the important thing with something creative, with something that where you're kind of going against the odds to make it happen, you have to have some kind of goal that is a little bit intimidating. And I mean, to be honest, I'm just going to share it. So with the travel vlog video, I am going to go, as I'm basically like, I'm looking for a job at the moment, I'm going to earn up a lot of money and I'm going to go to Cyprus to film a video there because I'm very interested in the political situation there. And by the time I upload that last video, by the time the last video goes out and gets viewed or whatever, I want to hit 1,000 subscribers. And that's quite intimidating to me, and I've got a lot of work to make that happen. And I'm, you know, like, it hangs in the balance that I've got to stay focused to make that happen. But I realised that I have to have big goals like that to make my sort of passion projects worthwhile. You know, like because otherwise it's just going to be a cute little YouTube side project that's not going to go anywhere. You know, and I don't want it to be that because, yeah, ultimately the thing that makes me want to do this isn't, oh, I just want a cute little YouTube side project. Like, no, I've got plenty of stuff to be busy with. I don't need some cute side projects. If I'm going to do this, it's because I want people to view it. I want people to like it. I want to actually get like decent numbers of people watching my channel, and you know, get to a point where I can monetize it. I just think that would be amazing to be able to monetize my my creative vision. And you know, if I don't hit the goals, you know, obviously I'll move the goals around at some point, but if it gets to a point where I really don't see how I'm going to make it work, I will probably give up and move on to something else. Now, does that mean say I'll never make a vlog again? No, I probably will, but I don't want to waste time on doing stuff that I'm not taking seriously. So I hope you see what I mean, guys. Like, there's kind of, when you have that kind of energy about your goals, you have like a clear vision with it, about how you're going to make things happen. That's different to how most people go about doing things that they're passionate about. So I think the first thing, just to recap, is like find something that you genuinely, authentically want to do, not because you have some egoic thing or like, oh, society says you should do it, but you genuinely think, yeah, this is I've got an idea here that other people aren't doing that I can do. And secondly, get realistic. First of all, don't set stupid goals, but set goals that are intimidating and give yourself a time frame to complete them. And that will just make it real all of a sudden. That will hold you accountable, and it will stop being just a cute little side project, and it will start being like a way to actually achieve something in your life. So yeah, I hope that helps, guys. Like I say, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love to have a discussion about this further. And yeah, thanks for watching. And if you click the top link in the description, I'm doing some coaching at the moment for people. If you want help with finding your purpose, getting a sense of direction in your life, and someone to hold you accountable, book a call with me. I'll see if you're a good fit for what I offer. And yeah, apart from that, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.